for GMV to market Bill's bodybuilding videos of some of the top women that he had worked with. Among his many achievements, he was editor of Flex magazine and was the ghostwriter of the classic book Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. Shout out to Arnold Schwarzenegger. He also remembered for his iconic book of female bodybuilders titled The Women, Photographies of the Top Female Bodybuilders by Bill Dobbins, 1994. Now, there's also another book. His first book is called Amazing Women, if you trace back about it. He had an eye for the best angels and best locations for his photography. He had a rare gift for his photography, and he was the greatest bodybuilding photographer that I have known personally. He told me how he fought Hodgkin lymphoma, a cancer of lymphatic system, several times and beaten it each time. I understand this is a recent time he has been suffering with Parkinson's disease. His health was such that in more recent years he could no longer manage to attend the Olympia, a regular meeting place where he always swapped stories each year. I would miss him and his extraordinary photography. Rest in peace, my friend. Now he posts some here. For I'll show you this one of a lady who I was in contact with for a good while. I was hoping to have her as a guest on my channel. That is the late Melissa Coates. Melissa Coates competed in a good part of the 90s. She's originated from Canada. It's amazing physique, great to look to her. After her stint as in bodybuilding, she became a wrestler. She was known by her name was Super Jenny. She used to be the valet to I forgot the guy's name. He passed away too just recently, last year. I remember I was really cool with Rhonda Charisma. She got me her email, and we were in contact. He was sending a package because it was a little bit after she amputated one of her legs because she was dealing with some issues. But Melissa had a great look to her. She was, very attractive, had a great, physique. I mean, her time as a bodybuilder was, as a pro, was I think short-lived. She competed in a few shows for a couple of years, and then she dropped out, did a lot of modeling, and then she found life as a professional wrestler. If you remember Melissa Coates from back in the day, there's a great look to her, very appealing. This is one of my classes, one of my favorites right here. This one here, when she was still competing as a bodybuilder. She's just beautiful. The skin and complexion. I think she was one of the sexiest women of the time. We just had somebody to pop in. Give me a second. Let me bring them in. This is my man here, and he was the one who did an interview with the late Mr. Dobbins, our man, KL the Wanderer.
Hey,
Hey,
how you
what's
doing
going
today?
on?
Happy New Year,
How
KL.
y'all doing? Happy New Year, Alex. How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
All
Well,
right.
yeah, it was Kay's opportunity. He reached out to Mr. Dobbins and he got an interview with us. So share, how did you get it? How did you get somebody like Bill Dobbins take time to talk to you?
I mean, it just happened. I mean, I was following him on Facebook, and I just had an idea to just reach out because there's times, if I always go after the women bodybuilders, I'm not really I'm not like often like getting them too much. So, I was just, figuring at the time like maybe I could get somebody that worked with women bodybuilders, like in terms of photography or other things. Like, and I've gotten like a few people, and Bill Dobbins, he was one of the few. So he responded, and he set up a date, and yeah, that the rest is history. I'm not gonna say I had the best interview because I was interviewing him on my phone, and I had it in my hand, and and look, the moments I was a bit stuck, especially introducing him. But he was a cool guy. He gave me some info on, like making my resume because, I was interested in, doing photography a bit. And, and yeah, nothing too deep to tell, but, I didn't know him well enough to, I just knew him like he was a straightforward guy, and he was very humble. I remember one time, like a couple of times, me and you, George, we was saying that he was a legend, and he was like, he was kind of brushing it off because I'm like, I'm not much of a legend. I can't go, if I go to Starbucks, they're not going to let me be first in line if it's a long line and stuff. So that was a bit funny. He was keeping it real. I think he didn't want to be penalized. But in the '90s, I seen him in the Geraldo Rivera talk show, and he had the other bodybuilders, and he was speaking up for them, and yeah, that's how I knew of him. I seen his book like at a Barnes and Noble, and I was checking it out. You know, so yeah, that in the '90s, I was, that's how I gained interest of the women. I paid attention to the women bodybuilders, and I see how he put them like in terms of like the pages the photos in the book and stuff. But yeah, so that's all I got.
Well, that's still good. That's good. Like I say, for us who are fans, especially of female bodybuilding, women with muscle, he to us he's a legend. I know that he said again, he's not to get a first seat at a big time table, but you know what? He brought something to the sport that wasn't good enough. That realizing that women with muscle can be beautiful. The design, the looks, the photography. People like Bev Francis. There's one for pictures where there's the one with Dorit Kearns on the little wooden lion. No. That's what Dorit Kearns. I think that was Sarah, but no, there's one with Dorit Kearns wearing the kind of like a shawl, like see through. You can see the detail of the muscle. He brought something to it. So what I'm gonna do is, like I said, I did pull up that interview that man Kay did with Bill. We saw some of it, the bit here and there. So you want to go to it. I will leave the link in the description. You want to check it out. So here it is with my man KL the Wanderer and the late Mr. Bill Dobbins.
And so I got plugged into the whole industry sort of by accident.
Yeah, back in the days, I would I would, I would buy the Flex magazines and, like, look at the women and stuff like that. I wanted to work out also, like in the '90s. I started like paying attention to bodybuilding, like in the '90s. I didn't know a whole lot, but, and just seeing like the women, it kind of blew my mind and stuff. And then even the men, I wanted to look, matter of fact, I had like a Joe Weir products. He had the shakes and stuff like that, and I used to buy them. This was when I was about like 16. So,
Well, what happened was that women's bodybuilding came along just about that time, the late '70s.
yeah.
And Joe Weider was very sympathetic to it. Not everybody was, but he could see in it a way of promoting his magazines. He could see in Rachel McClish a way to promote a champion the way he promoted Arnold.
Right.
So when I was doing Flex magazine, he was perfectly happy to have me photograph and do articles on women like Rachel. So as the and he did it in Muscle and Fitness too. Right. So as the magazines developed in the '80s, they included the women. There was no resistance. There was resistance in the culture. There was resistance even in the federations. Women ran into resistance in their own families with their husbands, boyfriends, and parents. But they didn't run into any resistance from Joe Weider. And right. So we were able to get all these women in the magazines and promote them right from the beginning. And that was a big benefit to the women.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember also you was in Geraldo, and you and the other female bodybuilders, you had like a discussion and stuff about your magazine. Well,
That's
the really that special edition of where all the
yeah. That
when I,
that that Geraldo is on YouTube if you look for it.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
2 parts. No, that's I did in 1995. I did a book called "The Women: Photographs of the Top Female
yeah,
Bodybuilder,"
right,
and I was there with Linda Murray and Sharon Burnett and a whole bunch of women at the Geraldo show to promote the book. And it was his, he had the biggest audience for that summer for that show.
right.
And it was a huge success. I sold a lot of books.
Yeah.
But if you look it up on YouTube, it's there in 2
Yeah.
parts.
Well, also go fast for a little bit because I got to come in, and it was for me. It was a highlight to talk to this man and ask him a question. Here we go. Oh God! Okay, this is you know what? That's a good point. I remember a friend of mine. He competes. Big Keith Williams. He told me a story about Jay Cutler. And Jay back in the day, like a lot of the male bodybuilders, the way to make some money, they sell their clothes and stuff like that. Especially because good amount of male bodybuilders they get a lot more following by guys who are come say come stop. So he told me the story how one day Jay took one of his shirts because he didn't. I think he forgot. I think he washed one of his shirts one day and it was still wet. So he said, you know what? Let me send this guy a shirt. So he sent the shirt to Jay. Jay sent this guy the shirt. The guy gets the shirt. He smelled it. He said, "It doesn't smell like you." So what Jay had to do from now on is like there were 2 or 3 shirts under his workout clothes, so he makes sure every time because those guys can tell what he smells like even when he sweats.
Well, women in general, models, actresses, whatever, who are promoting themselves, have always sold their clothing, especially their underwear. They would take off their underwear and put it in a plastic bag. And so they would get $100 for it or something. People, the thing about people, and the internet has sort of given us more insight into this. It is just weird what turns people on in general, what pulls the trigger. Like you go on porno sites and people have fetishes you never even heard of.
Yeah.
And subcategories of subcategories. But so female bodybuilders and models and whatever have often sold their used clothing rather than like you can go and probably Jay Cutler will sell you T-shirts that say Jay Cutler on it that are brand new like that, and you can buy merchandise from other people. But I'm not surprised if many of the people sell stuff that they've worn because that's happening in other industries as well.
Yeah, it's just I was like I said, like a lot of ladies like I said do OnlyFans because it's a way. Well, that's like I said, he really gave us both us that day some great knowledge. I appreciate the opportunity to be part of KL's live with him. We have here our man, shout to our man Josh Simpkins coming through. He says, "What's good? What's good with you, brother? If you want to come in, the link is in the description." So I think people like him really brought something to the world that, especially for people who are not comfortable with the idea of women with muscle or just muscle on anybody, period. That with the men, they get a little more leeway because they're men, but still they have to deal with people look at them certain ways. There's always the talk about use of steroids, stuff like that. But they're athletes and they're the sport which there's not a lot of lucrative deals. If you're like a lucky handful who might get a sponsorship for like a company or something like that. But this is people like what he did and the stuff he did really resonated with us who are fans. We just popped in. Our man Josh, you can go check his site, Women Bodybuilding Empire Nation.
How's it going, Empire Nation?
Hey, Josh.
Hey Josh,
What's up?
welcome. Did you ever I don't I know you thought about it. Do you ever remember Bill Dobbins? You ever seen his work?
Oh yeah, all the time. Man, he did a lot of stuff with he did like Topps trading cards, taking pictures of women's bodybuilding and taking all sorts of pictures of like he did a lot of work with Arnold Schwarzenegger encyclopedia and stuff like that. And that's how I saw a lot of his work, his photos, very unique photos at that.
Yeah, I think it's for a lot of classics. Like he worked with a
Yeah,
lot of the top
and
ladies. Like you
yeah,
mentioned
Rachel
uh,
McLish and all them. Who else? Linda Murray.
yeah, it's a
Yes.
lot of legends. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Also, he did another interview. This was like about 9 years ago, and this was with Sean Ray. You know Sean Ray? He's a legendary bodybuilder. He's been in the game for a long time. Right now, he does a lot of commentary on bodybuilding. And this interview did Sean Ray like about, I would say, almost 10 years ago. It's now it's 2026, so this is back in 2016. So I'm gonna pull up the interview he did with Sean Ray, and you can check it out and give your thoughts.
Sean Ray for MDTV with world-renowned photographer extraordinaire Bill Dobbins at the LA Fit Expo 2016. Bill, as we start the year off, who would ever imagine this expo would have gotten to this size? Is this something that you could have predicted back in the day when we were coming up?
I could have predicted it 4 or 5 years ago because I saw it getting better and bigger every year.
Absolutely.
And there's no place, anything like this place, anywhere near this place. So this must be the place.
Well, Bill, you've been around an awful long time. You were there when Gold's Gym opened in 1975, right around the corner in Santa Monica, where Arnold and all the guys were there. Tell me your opinion on how the landscape has changed in kind of condensed, because I know there's been a lot of changes through the lens that you've got photographing these bodybuilders. But tell me some of the changes that you've witnessed in bodybuilding as a fan and as a photographer that are good.
Well, I'm a fan of a lot of different sports, including auto racing. And they're all going the same way. They're getting bigger, more technological, more money involved. And so bodybuilding has gone the same route. There's bigger sponsors. Amazon.com is involved now. So this is kind of inevitable. It's one of those things, you grow or you die.
From a photographer's perspective, how have you had to change and adapt in photographing the human physique?
Well, I haven't had to make any changes at all, really, except for the fact that in the studio now, I shoot movie lights instead of strobes, so I can shoot video without changing the lighting.
The $1 million question, is it better now as a photographer shooting the athletes that you're dealing with now compared to, say, 20 years ago?
Well, the problem is the business. The magazines are not giving assignments the way they used to. They're not paying much for the photos that they do pay for. And everything's sort of spread out. I mean, I was a Weider photographer. Now, Weider's gone to New York. They use all their own people there. The other magazines are not investing very much in photography. So bodybuilding photography or fitness photography is in the same boat as all the rest of photography. The same thing has happened to photography that happened to music.
Right.
Only we didn't get iTunes to save us.
Yeah, that's true. And now, going to the Arnold Classic, the bodybuilding posing, which was no longer scored, is now being rescored by Arnold Schwarzenegger. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I've always believed in the aesthetics of bodybuilding. And Arnold himself, although he was a big man, was also very, very good at posing. And he studied Ed Corney and the other guys who were good at posing. The problem with a lot of these guys now is they're so big and so thick that they can't do many of those poses. Can you imagine Phil Heath doing a stomach vacuum? And my solution to that has been all along to have weight divisions in pro bodybuilding
like they have in the amateurs, because otherwise you don't have the opportunity for a Sean Ray to win a major pro title.
There you have it from the photographer extraordinaire. We've got his opinion. Bring back the weight classes and help solve all the problems in the world of professional bodybuilding. But for now, Bill Dobbins will continue to shoot the physiques as they're presented and try to get them out there to us as fans. For Bill Dobbins, I'm here at the LA Fit Expo 2016.
Well, that's amazing viewpoint. He really understood the aspects of bodybuilding, being that he was there from, especially if you say like you talk about he was hanging out with guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane. He's really cool with someone like Sean. I know he still like. I think the last time he was doing some photo sessions was when he did some work for Wings of Strength, and that was the person who was announced about his death. That was Jake Wood. I usually do the Jake, but I'm gonna be serious this time. I'm not gonna do the Jake thing. But they were good friends. They, he really, I would say, put bodybuilding on the map as a whole.
Yeah, he made bodybuilding mainstream, no doubt.
Yeah,
And
I noticed that he had like several cancers. You know, I because there's a difference. Years ago, like he was like healthy looking, and then you seeing him in these couple of interviews that he was deteriorating a bit.
Yeah.
You know,
What?
face you could tell.
Well, he was doing. I think this before his passing, he was dealing with Hodgkin's, and that's really severe. That's another form of cancer. He had also lymphemic cancer. He survived. It was something that if you follow RX Muscle, you follow Dave Palumbo. He mentioned it. He got his birth date wrong. He was born in '43 because they say he was
Yeah,
born in
I've seen that one.
'63.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you really know somebody, you should be aware of that. But I am going to publish this video because he's going to talk about it. If I follow Dave Palumbo. He's really been, even though Tate never been a pro, he's been in sport for about forever. He's also a
Yeah,
coach.
before you do that, I want. There was something that he was talking about the weight class, and like back in the day, you would see like the weight classes with the women, and they kind of changed it. Like they had the heavyweight, the lightweight bodybuilding, middleweight. You don't see that no more. They just have bodybuilding.
Well, in
So
the amateurs, you have weight classes in the amateurs because
well, they
that's
call it A, B, and C. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's for like divisions like bikini, wellness, but with women's bodybuilding, they're the ones who still do weight classes.
Yeah.
Physique, figure, bikini, and those are divisions. They still do it by the numbers. But women's bodybuilding and I think the men's bodybuilding are the only ones that still go by weight classes. I remember, like, I think he said in an interview we talked to him how he said that he was the one to get the idea to I think pushed to Ben Weeder because he still had good friendship connection with Ben Weeder about doing weight classes because what it did was it was one thing you remember back in 2020 and it's like 2000 when they reformatted the women's bodybuilding division for the Olympia and just the whole women's body division. They didn't do it to the men; they did it to the women. Where they had weight classes. You remember, you had two Miss Olympias. You had Adrina Bichette and Valentina Shapigan. And that's always
Mhm.
been a controversy to me, where they could have, it was either between those two. If they went with Andrula, I feel like she was the Miss Olympia for the fans who really like women's bodybuilding. If you go with Valentina, she was more like the Miss Olympia for the company because she was very attractive and had a great physique. Both ladies had great physique, but they instead decided to have a draw. Then he said during the interview when he did the weight classes, Juliet Bergman came back, and she was out of the game for nearly 10 or 15 years. She was, and she came back. She won in 2001. Come back one more time, but then Linda came back, and I remember the story somebody told me, and let's because this is one lady I've been kind of friendly with. She told me a story how I think it was around when they had last time they had weight classes. It was around 2004. I think it was the either the first, I think it was either right after, I think it was right after, um, I think when Iris was competing for Miss Olympia, and they split the weight class. I think it was I think it was 2006. We still had the weight classes, I believe, or 2004, one of them. And there was in the lightweight class, you had Denise Messino and Diane Cadeau. Now, back then, you used to let the ladies have little costumes and outfits when they do their pose routines.
Yeah.
Denise Messino had that crazy little dominatrix glittering spike thing on her head. What she told me was they wanted Denise Messino to win, but they hate that outfit that she wears. So that's why they went with Diana Cadeau, and Diana went after the title against Iris. But Iris came in a great physique. She won.
Mm-hmm. She did have a great physique.
Yeah, Iris, like I said, this all people can always go like, "Wait, Iris was the talk about how Iris, yeah." But the thing for me, women's bodybuilding changed when Kim Zaveski was Miss Olympia, that last Miss Olympia back in '99. We have here a guest, our wizard, our knowledge, our
Merlin.
He's our Merlin, my man Jeremy from Art of Female Muscle.
Jeremy, what's up?
Hey guys, how's it going?
He just recently did an interview with Rachel Newman this past weekend. You want to check it out, you can go to the Art of Female Muscle. He's also, ladies, who are you listening to this video? He's also looking to maybe do some more interviews. He's been setting his game up. So welcome, brother, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, guys, Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah,
Happy New Year.
like I said, you've been following bodybuilding just as long as I have, Jeremy. What's your thoughts of the late Mr. Bill Dobbins?
I miss him. I miss his work because his photography is just second to none. Quite a few years ago, I got both of his books, which are the women photographs of the top female bodybuilders and Muscle Amazons. Those are his photographic collections, but he also had quite a number of articles that I've been reading. It's like his website is called BillDobbins.me, and he gives his thoughts on quite a number of things about women's bodybuilding going back to, I think, 2012. So it's like he expressed when the Miss Olympia was discontinued in 2014, he wrote about that. He when women's physique was created, he wrote about that. He didn't agree with women's physique when it came out.
Oh wow.
He thought it was supposed to be, he didn't agree with the creation of that. He thought it should be just simply lightweight bodybuilding. Because he, like has been expressed already, for 2000 to 2005, he had weight classes in the pro ranks for women's bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. And he very much agreed with that, but he said we shouldn't have a women's physique division. It should be lightweight bodybuilding. So he's kind of a controversial figure because some of his stuff that he would post, but especially from a photographic perspective, a Bill Dobbins picture is a work of art. It truly is. If you look at some of the true artistic photographs that he's done of so many people. Yeah, that's it. No, that's not it. Let me send you the link for it.
But yeah,
but he's so influential. So influential. The only other guy I can think of that has had, the only guy that I can think of who has had more, just as much as far as guys go, the impact on female bodybuilding is Steve Wennerstrom. And if people who don't know who that is, he was the official IFBB women's historian for quite a number of years. And he wrote articles as well. So when I was coming up in my fandom of the women's side of bodybuilding competition, I read those guys' articles all the time. Because, they're so incredibly knowledgeable. I never ever had the opportunity to meet Bill, but I did meet Steve one time. And it was just delightful to meet Steve. Unfortunately, I never got to meet Bill in my time prior to his passing. So I miss him. He's definitely a major figure as far as women's competition go, and his photography will stand the test of time. as a testament to his artistic genius.
That for sure is.
Yeah, he like I say he took photos of amazing ladies, ladies from the 80s and 90s to the 2000s. He's worked with some of the top, women in the sport, and also some of the top men, in the sport. Um, what he contributed to the sport was amazing, and I think that the thing is that people, I think, are still on the fence when it comes down to the idea of women with muscle. They feel like it's it's not women shouldn't have muscle. We always talk about this, how some people have to deal with people, trolling them or also commenting about them have muscle. Like a man just sent me the link, so I'm going to share it with y'all. I'm gonna read it. He really,
It's a long
um,
article. It's a long
I won't
article.
get,
You might not be able to read
I won't
all of
get
it.
to,
So.
I won't get to details of it. I skimmed across of it. Okay, it says lightweight bodybuilding, not physique. And here it is. This is from, I believe, from 2002. You have Dan Cadeau, Denise Messino, Judith Bergman, Eugenio Keene, Linda Murray, and also, I think it was, yeah, and also Iris Kyle. So he said like this: the Miss Olympia in 2020 featured these categories: bodybuilding, physique, fitness, figure, and bikini. These are all competitions for extreme of athletes that involve a tremendous amount of physical effort and dieting, and which procedure extraordinary bodies. But while bodybuilding is a sport, which not even accepts, but I have some great arguments for this. These other categories are quite clearly very demanding and highly specialized types of beauty contests. So let's get through here. It says some sports involving evaluating competitors on the basis of form or aesthetics rather than measuring things like how much, how fast, or how high. In both types, the judges rank competitors according to established standards by they don't set the standards themselves, even though some subjective um, interpretations may be involved. Bodybuilding is a sport of form and both tradition and history set standards. Okay, so we go here. Here we go. Here it says the lightweight bodybuilding. Lightweight bodybuilding is bodybuilding, which is a sport. Therefore, the same standard apply. The only difference is requirement to be within a certain body or weight limit. Amateur bodybuilders is conducted using a number of weight classes. This is also true to other sports, which body size can be average. Olympic wrestlers and boxers compete against opponents who are essentially the same size. But pro bodybuilders for women currently has no weight division. A smaller amateur who turns pro has to compete directly against bodybuilders, you know, sometimes 30 or 30 pounds heavier. Says back in 2000, the IFB began including lightweight division in pro female bodybuilding. This allowed smaller women like Judith Bergman and Julia Bichette and Diane Cadeau to win titles at the time when there was a lot of opposition to increasing mass and masculinity of the top pros. Women, this created a different look that could be used to publicize the sport in the eyes of those who did not, uh, you know, readily accept the what says the physiques of the bigger female bodybuilders. Okay, says okay. So he says women's physique category is aimed at women who prefer to develop a less muscular yet athletic and aesthetically pleasing physique. Unlike former women's bodybuilders in the official description from IFBB, although the judges were told to look at less massive or muscular women, the one specific difference in the rules was competitors did double bicep poses with open hands rather than closed fists. So here, as you look here, and this is this is a back. I think this is that's Annie. I remember that's Annie Furtis. I'm trying to look at who's that. I think that's and I think it's Julia McCarney. I believe that's Trish Warren, or I think it's figured this one's fit. This most definitely we know that's bikini. And you look at this level where if you look at someone like Annie back in the day, if she competed now, she would be women's physique because had a great look to her. She very feminine, great look. She even competed in women's physique for a couple of years when she came back. So here's a bunch of lists here, but here are women like you have Iris Kyle, you have Yexenia King, you have Diana Cadot, amazing ladies. You have here
Yep.
that was in 2002 with return of Linda Murray, and you had Judith Bergman. This is women's physique. Some of the ladies I think I recognize. I think I see there's Autumn Swanson there. I can't recognize a couple of others here. I believe I think it's Sharona Kitten right here at the end. And we have that's Valentina Japigan and Yagzini. And that's Kathleen Lee Francois. You had Danielle Bailey. Danielle
And there
Bailey
are,
was the one who pretty much.
there are a lot of really good articles on that page that he's
Mhm.
written, and this is just one of them. But he doesn't hold back as to what he really thinks. I mean, in this very article that we're looking at, he accuses the IFBB Pro League of discrimination.
Oh wow.
So he has absolutely no problem voicing his opinions on it. So maybe his views changed over time, but when this particular one came out, that's what he thought, because he didn't agree with the divisions. Like at the time, this was sort of the figure and fitness. He didn't really necessarily agree with those divisions. He probably wouldn't agree. He probably wouldn't agree with wellness and bikini today. So, but I mean, that was one thing about Bill, is that he's all for the women, such like that, but he doesn't necessarily mean that he's for the organizations.
Mhm.
So that's one big thing about Bill, is that, but I mean, he has so much experience and so much knowledge to back it up. So, I mean, that's one thing that's always really impressed me about Bill, is that he's not in any way afraid to voice his opinion.
Mhm.
And including what he thought of the powers that be. It doesn't mean that I don't think he was necessarily an opponent of theirs, but I mean, he had no problem voicing criticism where he thought it was due.
It's the first thing to say, because you know what? I remember when me and KL did, I said an interview with Kim and KL, how he talked about how it was his ideal to push for weight classes. But then I think afterwards, in 2006, they went back to the old, playbook where he didn't have weight classes, and
Right.
that's why.
And he
Go ahead.
talks about that in the very article you posted. He talks about that.
Yeah.
He talks about the history as to what happened. So
Yeah, and then I think what affected also women's physique, because you had a lot of ladies jumping from women's bodybuilding to women's physique, and they were bringing that muscle aesthetic. They were much bigger, much grainier, and I think the judges didn't sit down and say, you know what, you stay where you at. Even though you're coming down here because you feel like you're more comfortable, but you're bringing that same thing. You're affecting how that division is going to look from now on. And we look at people like Rachel Daniels. We look at people like Natalia right now. She looks like she could do women's bodybuilding. She could be bigger than the women from back in 2000s.
Mhm.
Well, folks, I'm going to jump in here because I just went to his IG. I'm going to pull up some, he put up some great pictures and photos back in the day. A lot of stuff's not all, it's just basically good, good content here. Nothing too risque. I know you guys, we want to look here. We have some amazing ladies here. Like I think this is one lady I recognize her, but I don't know her name right off. He did like a lot of models, a lot of artsy stuff. I mean, he had a great style, look to it. I think it's one lady. I feel like I recognize her. I'm not sure. He did guys too. He wasn't discriminative. Some celebrities and models. I said he's a fan of race cars. That's what he was into. But he just had a great look to it. He did a lot of fashion. Here's also the picture right here at the bottom. You can see Ronnie Coleman. You see Franco Colombo. That's Kevin Lavrone. I mean, right up here, you see the picture of Lou Ferrigno. They got him on some green light looking like the Incredible Hulk. Oh, Lou! Oh, Lou! He really worked with some boxers. Also, this is the one I was talking about. Him and Sharon Bernot. This is the one with the lion from the women. I actually saw that book. Like, I mean, man, Glenn. When I went to visit him, do my first interview with him at his office. He had that book. I looked through it. I was just in awe at it, and he really loved his work, and his passion showed. Like, this is cute. The two little kids in the sand. It's black and white. Here, the homeless guy. All I need is pizza and some weed. And it says, all I want is a pretty girl to smoke pot with. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not talking about the pizza and the girl. You eat a pot. This is like a homeless gentleman here. I mean, and also one lady I think he really inspired to get into the photography business is Annie Revicchio. And I met Annie twice. Annie runs Muscle Angels, and Muscle Angels is really one of the very popular photo companies around. We do a lot of sessions with the ladies. Also, I got an interview also photographer Sean Nelson, and I reached out to him. This is like about a few years ago when I started doing my content. I said, you know what, I want to reach out to somebody different. And also my man Russ G, he's a photographer. These guys really understand and really highlight these men and women. We have your comment from my man XA Gucci 23. And shout out to him. He says, Happy New Year, George Page.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And you reflect on what he contributed to the sport and the women he had touched. I know I was talking to some ladies, like one lady I know, Miss Nancy Lewis. I wanted her to come on here because she worked with him, but she had to work. Yeah, sorry. It'd be great to have her on here. She's a legend. She told me like he was a pain in the ass, but he was a good. He knew what he was doing. He was a good dude.
Yeah, I mean, he wrote so much about so many different things. He wrote about how he believed female muscles should be promoted in society. That it really is. He saw, I guess, some of the things that are going on as gender discrimination, because he felt, hey, if you can have skinny girls up getting promoted and such like that, why can't you do it with muscular women? So that was one thing that I really liked about him, is just that he wasn't a mouthpiece for organizations. He spoke from the hip. I mean, he spoke from the heart. I mean, it's like if he didn't agree with you, he would definitely let you know it. But he wrote articles for so many other places. One of them was Muscle and Fitness. And I just posted a link to that one. And I had to do this for George, because this was one that Bill Dobbins, I don't know when he wrote this, but this was over on muscleandfitness.com, where he also wrote a bunch of articles. But I had one that he wrote about Andrea Shaw.
Y'all keep coming. Y'all keep coming. I gotta step out for a second. I just heard a knock at my door, but y'all keep talking.
Oh, okay.
That's
I don't
first.
know.
Yeah. Bill Dobbins definitely left behind a legacy. Man, I always enjoyed his work. Those unique photos,
Yeah. And he got to work with so many people. Someone that I just posted about not too long ago, Sharon Bernot. She's like one of the most photogenic female bodybuilders of all time. If you've ever watched her, this is a woman that had a wonderful physique, but also just coupled with supermodel levels of facial beauty. So, just amazing. And she worked, how many pictures did she do with Bill?
I lost count.
It was a lot, but I mean, they're truly beautiful photographs. So he just had the opportunity to work with, I know Isabel Terrell, also she had the opportunity to work a lot with Bill. So it would be
Andretta Blanchett and who else?
Denise Rudkowski.
Oh, yep.
It's there too. I put a little pictorial tribute on my page just.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool.
Some of my favorite pictures that he took. So, but yeah, I mean, he was a true artist with the camera. So he will be very, very greatly missed.
Great. Let's see.
Oh, what you gotta say, Al?
Oh, there he is.
I'm back, brothers. Like I said, just had a knock at the door, and just took care of business. But yeah, I just saw link that my man sent me. He knows me. He knows that I can't help
But I mean,
myself.
it's a great
It's
article
amazing.
if you have the opportunity to read it. I mean, he says that Andrea Shaw,
Well, we're
she's
gonna read a
soft
little bit of
spoken.
it.
Yeah, she says she's soft spoken, but she's a machine in the gym. So
Yeah, yeah.
She
Like I
is.
said,
Watch her
Andrea's like
YouTube. Watch those
this is like I
Me
said.
Too videos and stuff.
She just put out a new working her glutes. This is like I think this got to be around about I think 2022, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, he said like this. Andrea is the perfect blend of nature and nurture. Bodybuilding greatness is very much dependent on genetics, as a true in all sports. But the
But there
must
must
be
be
a lot of nurture working in combination with a nature to achieve success. In other words, success requires a lot of hard, disciplined, and
consistent.
consistent effort over time. Andrea Shaw has amazing physique structure. That, yeah, that is big, muscular, and aesthetic. For that, she can credit in part her grandparents and great grandparents. But additionally, it turns out she has a hard she's is a hard worker as anyone goes to the gym day after.
Hello?
Hello? Anybody home?
Yeah, he broke up. I don't know what happened.
Oh,
I thought it was me. I didn't know if I was breaking up.
everything's okay.
Can anybody hear me? I don't know. Is anybody there?
Everybody.
Alex, you there? You can hear me? Technical difficulties.
hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Is yeah, I can hear you, but what happened to all of the what happened to
I
all the
don't know.
streams, guys?
I don't know what happened. I don't.
Anybody home?
You gotta come
Yeah,
in.
that's what I'm trying to figure out. I stepped away for just a second, but it's like, I came back. It's like, all right, I see the picture.
I'm still
Anybody
here.
know?
Does anyone know what's
happened
going
to the
on?
video? I don't know myself. I mean, we're all.
I don't know. Maybe he got it.
We're all still clearly on stage, as it were, but some reason all the video disappeared.
Hope everything's okay.
Is George there?
I hope so too.
He must have had some technical difficulties.
Well, but the thing is,
This has never happened before.
Why are we all here except for him?
I don't know. That's
All
a good
right.
question. I don't know.
I hope he's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll probably come back.
Did anybody see what happened? Or
no, I think he was reading something and that it just happened.
Yeah, he was reading the article and it just popped off.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's weird. As to why we're all still here, but he's not. So we should at least be able to hear the guy. So,
yeah. Hold on.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I could get to his
Yeah, I'm gonna try and see if I can get his IG, see what's going on.
I don't know, this thing be acting up. All right, maybe you probably gotta get back to him because my thing is acting up. Okay. Okay. All right.
We're getting
We see.
something.
Hey, I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Scared us.
George, don't you ever scare me.
Yeah, don't do that to us again.
I don't know what happened.
Scare me like that again, man.
I was reading, going through the everything, and then next thing you know, I noticed that I'm not hearing anybody. I thought I'd be hearing people talking.
We're like, what the hell happened to you?
I don't know. Maybe when I stepped away,
Let me try
something.
something. Be right back.
Yeah, go ahead. But it was like I said. I went through the article. I know y'all probably saw some of it before I went out, and he really
Should just read a paragraph.
I couldn't help it. It was a great thing. Hey, I got to tell you, this is my shit. I did this shit.
Whatever.
I don't need to be a middleman tell me how to tell my shit. I gotta do my Franklin Saint here down there. I gotta teach people how to make it feel me. But it was a great article.
George, what happened? I was all quiet for a moment. What happened?
I can't explain to you, but I'm going to share the link if you want to check it out. It's in I just left the comment section. You want to check it out. We have some people here. Maybe shout out to them here. We have here my man DJ Jeff coming through. He says this. He says, "Hi George, Alex, and others. I found your Instagram. I am looking forward to making my appearance on Sunday Fun Day when I get to meet female bodybuilders for my first time." Okay. Also, shout out to him. He says, "Josh, what's the Instagram name for you?" So, what's your Instagram, Josh? Share it with him.
Okay. Go to Instagram. It's under Women's Bodybuilding Empire and join the Empire Nation.
If you want, you can. If you're still in the YouTube, just leave it in the comments section. You can follow that too. Also, he says, "I can hear you. Appreciate that." Also, he says this is from Caleb Hall. He says, "I wish for them to make a sequel to Body Odyssey." Is that one of his videos? Body Odyssey?
Yeah, that's that movie on what's her name? Jay Fuchs was in.
Yeah, Jay Fuchs.
Yeah,
he's a nut. He's a nut always like commenting on the the female body. He loves female bodybuilders. But shout out to him. He be showing me some love, but he's a nut.
Well, I appreciate everybody who comes through here. So he also says, "Happy New Year to all female bodybuilders and muscular women out there." Yeah, I think I think his photography really maybe inspired women who, like I said again, with Andrea, she mentioned how she saw a magazine. I'm not sure. I think I said what it was, but I got clicked out before I could, And it was, I think it was a magazine that probably inspired her. I think it was a what was it one? It was one of the health and fitness magazines, I believe, and that's what got her into it. And a lot of people, like me, when I was coming up, I often say this. My older brother used to play football here in our hometown, and he used to get the muscle mags. So you can go to you used to go to your grocery store and find them. You were right there. You had that. Grocery stores used to have it. You go find. Even had the dirty magazines too, but you went on to get them. But and we used to look at them because guys like Lila Brada, Samir Banut, Lee Haney, Frank Singh was still competing the good part of the '80s before he finally retired, and Franco Colombo, those guys. And then the women was something like people like Corey and Rachel, Carla Dunlap, Angela Langer, Judith Bergman. We last night, me and Kale, we did a little thing. We talked about women in magazines. Like I think remember Jeremy talked about Steve Winterstrom, and Steve was one of those guys that really gave women's bodybuilding an opportunity that most people like. You remember the old women's? It was originally called Women's Physique Publication, but then
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the
yeah,
from the women's physique world. They
yeah,
spin off the
yeah. It was the first magazine, but then they
yeah.
changed the name to Women's Physique World, and it was like I think it started around about the early '80s, and it was a great publication if you're a fan of women of muscle. And it was Jeremy talked about Steve Winterstrom. Sorry, sometimes I might say Steve Weinberger, but Steve Winterstrom. And I remember he was married to a female bodybuilder. I think Jeremy, I think it's Lisa Lorio. I think that's how you pronounce her
Yes,
name.
Lisa Lorio.
Lorio,
Yeah,
and she
Lisa
had a great.
Lorio. Interesting that you mentioned about women's physique. Let me get it here. I've started posting the covers of all women's physique world issues over on my profile, and I also found this link. I know I'm putting it in the private chat again, but this is the main website for Women's Physique World magazine, and they have digital downloads of all of their
Yeah.
editions, and they also have digital downloads of all of their earlier magazines,
Sweet.
which were like, let's see, what is it?
Yeah, I got some of the video.
Women's Strength and Physique publication, which was in black and white to show how far back it goes. Then you also had, what was it? Women's Physique publication, and that was in early '80s. But I mean, if you are looking to find anything in related to women's physique world, that's where you go. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because like the magazines lasted for a good while. I think it stopped, like Kale said, it stopped around about 2006. I mean, I got a few of them in storage in in my in my storage closet. Lale's here, some recognizable here. You have right here. You have the late Kay Baxter, uh, just a crazy great physique. And, I remember
Nice.
what was that? Me and Kay were talking to a gentleman who knew Kay back in the day, and she was possibly make a return, but then she got an accident. She passed away. Some say she should have won Miss Olympia during her career, maybe beat out Corey, but politics and sometimes some BS. Um, Also, who else is in here? Let's see if we all. It's quite a few amazing
And
ladies.
and understand, those are not just the covers; those are the full magazines. Every picture of every page. So if you're wanting to like get a collection or wanting to see what we were all reading in print in the past. These are the actual magazines.
Man, this is bringing back memories.
From cover to end. So, how many remember the back page?
Oh yeah, they always had the back page that show whoever was on.
They always had the back page.
Didn't it come with like a poster too?
I'm not sure about that, but I always remember the back page, because the back page.
Yeah, the back page. Yeah.
Was some female bodybuilder doing a rear bicep pose. So, but it was a great magazine. So.
Yeah, it was a great magazine. It was for if you are a muscle person,